T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special episode that's near and dear to my heart, as we will be talking about twin flames. I am with my co-host of the evening.
White chocolate?
Oh, yes, and I'm French vanilla.
We're going to keep making all of you guys uncomfortable until you get used to it.
Yeah.
We're talking about what we should talk about because we're running out of ideas. Just kidding. We're actually ahead, so props to us, but we like to put out our seasonal episodes. So we talk about what's going on for, each sun sign season. We talk a little bit about kind of what's going on right now, and we're we're ahead. So obviously we should fucking talk about twin flames, right?
Yep.
As if you haven't heard enough of this on YouTube as it is.
Yeah. It's one of those concepts that starts off somewhat pure and then...
It never ends up pure.
Yeah. One thing I love about the twin flame, just concept, is that when it first came through, everyone was so enamored, and now most people you talk about are like, I don't want to talk about that. I don't care. I don't know about twin flame. Almost like you can see visibly the hurt in their heart.
People are very divided.
Yeah.
Right?
You can tell they thought someone was their twin flame and then realized the hard way, maybe it's not. By the way, I'm just letting you know, I'm your twin flame. If you're watching.
He has enough Gemini placement probably to be a couple people's twin flame.
To be honest, I don't like to share this a lot, but I personally believe that twin flames can only be Gemini, and if you're with a Gemini, you're with a twin flame.
It's so interesting because,
Mirror
so
you.
I have done a couple of videos with K Moon, who notoriously, her spiel is the divine masculine and the feminine, and she talks about both, and that's her thing. She's also one of my clients. So
Right.
she's come to me for a bit, and I'll go on her channel every now and then I get a wave of twin flamers, and what? Is that wrong?
Revenge
Twin
of the
flamers?
twin flamers.
Can I say that? Everybody else that is laughing right now. Probably should. Okay, I'm gonna call them twin flamers. That's mine. I'm gonna trademark that. Don't steal that. Hashtag twin flamers.
Why is this the first time I'm ever hearing that?
I feel like right now we should have somebody in the edit have me go this, and there's just this banner of flames. Hopefully there's gonna be all kinds of special effects here right now. I'm hoping. But yeah, twin flamers. Okay, that's mine.
That's
you heard
wild.
it here.
Yep, first.
I've seen a lot of these charts, and there's a lot of Venus in Gemini in opposition to Uranus, Saturn in Gemini, Sun in Gemini,
Right.
Sun, Venus in Gemini, Saturn in Gemini in opposition to Venus in Sag. There's something to your theory with that.
Yeah.
And this is also a special breed of people that understand, outside of Libras, because Libras fall into this category too, that there are some people you fall in love with that you will just never fucking be with. Mm-hmm. And some people should be that way. There are some people you fall in love with and you're no, I'm never gonna be with that person. But this community, part of them are well, we're in love, we're trying to find our way back together, which I get, I understand, that's a real thing. But then there's other twin flame community that's yeah, but my kid's 6 and he lives in Pennsylvania and I'm in fucking Zimbabwe, and in an alternate reality we're already together, but when my kids grow up in 18 years we'll be together, and I'm it's some heavy shit.
Or, my twin flame is the greatest partner ever. It's just,
I've seen those memes. I know where you're going with this.
Exactly, right?
We've been through some shit. He's put me through some shit, but it's my twin flame. Honestly, sidebar, I'm not going to say I don't get it. I get it. I don't really believe it. But when I hear women say things yeah, he's put me through some shit, but it's my twin flame, I'm
have you even met him is the first thing I'll ask, because some people haven't even, but it's oh, my twin flame is so amazing. It's just, their husband or wife is getting in the way of our connection.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
There are some people that people are married to, but they don't, okay, I'm going to rephrase this. They may be with other people, which is really hard for me to comprehend because everything in my body's cringing right now. They may be with other people, but they belong to someone else.
Okay.
That I believe in.
Right. I think what's very unfortunate is that this concept was reestablished and it's introduced to a community that has so much wounds. Like a lot of people who even subscribe to this, they're very wounded. They're dealing with a lot of toxicity. And there's been so many theories. It's been so inundated in romance. A lot of people have not accepted that the twin flame connection has nothing to do with romance. Like a romance is another element added on it. But I think what really makes me, and thankfully what helps me understand this is I went through that phase where, you know, I allowed myself to use that concept to have rose-tinted glasses and project like, oh, you're my twin flame, when I realized that I'm a twin flame, right? And what really helped me understand this concept is that people look at it too linearly. So, since people see themselves as like physical constructs, thankfully to materialist reductionism, fake science that doesn't, acknowledge other realms, the fact that your soul exists beyond this, people look at another flesh shoot and don't remember that there's a frequency, right? And so it's hard for people to accept that your twin flame, which you are a twin flame, right? Between you and an archetype, it can exist in different bodies. But then you have people who are so attached to an outcome. It has to be that person because this person makes me feel all that way. There's an ancient proverb that says if someone makes you feel like this, that's not the one.
No, you should be like calm and like complete. Right. Okay. So here's my question, and then we'll give our interpretations of like what the twin flame is, because I thought that'd be interesting. But like,
I have a twin flame connection that she's married with a baby to someone else, and I never really had this like obsessive connection to her. It was really chill. It wasn't even like, it wasn't really based on anything romantic. It was just more so like I saw my reflection in this person. But then I can recognize it in different women, men, and other people too. And that's what made me realize it's so much deeper than like, it's the other way around. It's like an archetypal connection that plays out through human vessels rather than one human being this totality. And I didn't say that right, but that's kind of where I'm going with it.
So my question is, I have to think about this. Is the whole aspect of like the twin flame thing, is it validating or is it okaying? Do you know what I'm going with this? Like,
yeah.
Does that make sense? Like saying that you have a twin flame and like everybody talking about it and like the
Right.
way that the twin flame stuff works, is it validating that it's real and like that it's normal to be treated that way? Or is it just confirming? Am I making sense?
I think I know what you're saying. Like, I don't think it confirms.
Justifying, that's the word I'm looking for.
Right.
Is it validating that it's real, you can have a twin flame, and I guess we'll get into like our interpretations
Right.
of it. Or is it justifying, oh, but it's okay, and this is how I know that it's a twin flame? I guess that's my issue. I'm not going to say with the community, because I have lots of clients who are involved in it. I know it's a real thing, but I think about like whether or not the term twin flame gets involved or not. Like, would you justify staying in a relationship or staying connected to somebody who runs away from you, treats you like shit, doesn't put you first, doesn't choose you, doesn't prioritize you? Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, the thing I love about that is the biggest misconception is that you have to marry your twin flame. Your twin flame.
No.
Your twin flame could be a relative.
Right.
Remember, it's a frequency, so it can express itself through a relative, through a friend. The whole notion that like you have to get away, like a lot of people don't want to work on their partnerships, and so they use these concepts as a way to kind of escape this. Shout out to Nelia Guerrero too. She stopped using that term. She starts using sacred partnership, right, or divine partnership, which I also resonate with too. But certain red flags. If you ever say this person, if you ever hear anyone say this person is my twin flame, they're full of shit. You know what I'm saying? One of the craziest things I hear to this day that just drives me crazy is when they say, oh, you want to get with your soulmate, not your twin flame. But a twin flame connection is between two soulmates. So like it's just a bunch of stupidity that goes around because people are so in their feelings and they're so extremely equating this to some element of romance. The twin flame connection isn't necessarily someone you get with. It's a union between your own self that you then mirror with the world around you. So it's not just going to be one person, but people don't like to hear that.
Okay, so let's go deeper.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
go deeper because I just want to fucking dig in on this because this is something that like part of me is kind of like perplexed by and the other part of me is annoyed by. So when you think about a soulmate, right? Like we have tons of soulmates, like literally tons. Like
I like to think everyone's my soulmate.
And I feel like the older I get, at least, I'm not going to project this onto you, but the older that I get, I'm like, yeah, I could see where there are people who came into my life. Like, yeah, that was a soulmate. Like,
Right.
that person changed, you know, my life in this, or this way. And they came in for a period of time, or maybe they're still around and, like, they serve a purpose and, like, there's some karmic, kind of like soul family shit. Kind of like, what is that book? Journey of Souls, I think it's called.
Right.
Where it's like the idea that you have the soul family, you reincarnate, you know, everybody's playing out some kind of karma. You're always swapping who's going to be the villain and who's going to be the whatever. And then, like, you love each other so much that you give each other that experience. So your soulmate could be, like, a friend, a teacher, a dog, a lover,
an enemy,
a enemy, whatever, because they love you so much that they're willing to give you that you know, experience, little soul in the sun. Check that out, because that'll explain all of it. But then I think about, okay, so what's the difference between a soulmate and a twin flame? So the idea of twins, they may look similar or act similar, but they're very different.
Yeah.
And they're complementary because you can't have one without the other.
You mean the what were you saying? Soulmate and twin?
Yeah, so like twins being, just twins in general, not necessarily twin flames, but twins in general. There's a pair, they both, you know, gestated together, they came up together.
Oh, like twins. Like
Right, yeah.
fraternal or identical.
Yeah, and they may not be identical. They may or they may not be, or they may be different genders, and they may look the same, act the same, have similar mannerisms, but they're actually different. If you've ever known twins, unless they're like super freaky, usually they're very different, even if they look the same, but they're complementary, right?
Yeah.
And they came up together. So I look at the idea of like twin flames as like, okay, you've got like this fraction of your soul that reincarnated in another body, and they come into your lifetime in many incarnations, maybe in this incarnation. And when you encounter that person, it's like looking in a mirror. And it's like, oh my God, we've been dealing with the same shit. And like, that's what's fascinating to me is that you'll encounter this twin flame, which generally I don't feel like there's as many as there are soulmates, because there's really supposed to be, and this is my opinion, there's one, there's a twin flame, there's one, there's the other side of your soul. And then when you start to look at that person, it's not so much about the physical appearance, but where they've been, what their life has been like, what they've been dealing with. They come into your life, and it's like they hold up a mirror, and you may get super agitated, like, why are they still fucking stuck in this job and they're miserable, or like they won't leave their wife, or like whatever. And then that person comes into your life, and it's like really like a huge reflection back to you that's like, what have you done or not done? And if and this is the case with relationships in general, oftentimes when people have a problem with somebody else, it's a problem they have with themselves. Not always. Sometimes, you know, bad things happen to good people, of course, but many times when I've reflected, Libra rising, on being like, I have a problem with this fucking person, X, Y, Z is wrong, and I'm like, oh my God, I have a problem with myself. Like, I'm doing the same things.
Exactly.
So the twin flame aspect can be that person that comes into your life when it's like, you know, you've hit that point where you must evolve, and maybe that person comes into your life. And I've seen this so many times in like readings with clients that's like, well, yeah, but you know, he won't come around, and he like won't call me back, and like he's not ready, and he's running, and he's scared. And I'm like, but you're still fucking married to your husband. So
And
like, what do you expect?
Their biggest mistake is they're equating the entirety of the concept and connection of a twin flame that exists outside of the solar system, that exists outside of this universe, to one person who's living their own life. A one person is not your twin flame. If there's anything you get from this video, the twin flame connection can exist and channel itself through a person that has compatibility with you to reflect it, but you can't look at that person, because behind that person is a soul, and in that frequency, whether it's an oversoul or whatnot, you know, the best way to really look at it is you're mirroring a connection that's within, and the only thing constant in life is change. So as you change, that person who embodies it may change too. And the biggest resistance to accepting this is people want to give into that romantic myth that you're meant to be with one person for the rest of your whole life, but you have to gain growth through every, relationship construct. It's not just romance. So a lot of people, I would say 99.99% of people who are looking at someone romantically and thinking that's their twin flame because they make them feel they're delusional. Like it's not. And trust me, I've been there before.
But here's
too.
the question, and I go back and forth on this because once again, I'm personally, it's a personal belief. Like I'm not gonna share this with everybody. I am
right.
now, but part of me is not sold on it because part of me is like, do you really want to be with that person? Do you want to be with that person? And sometimes it's not always like that opposite sex that you attract and you bring in that you want to be with. Like,
right.
What if it is your business partner? What if it is your sibling? Like, what if it is your fucking dog? Like, I don't care what it is. But that person who comes in and is like, oh yeah, you're frustrated? Well, here you go. Here's some work to do.
And that's the most important part because it's not a person, it's you. So
right.
like until you balance that within yourself, you'll just keep on reflecting an imbalance in your relationships with others who are supposed to reflect that, right?
But also, can it be so frustrating to potentially be with that person because they are the other half of your soul? And like, is the whole purpose of that connection to that twin flame is that pure unconditional love in loving them and understanding them and accepting them for who they are, even if you can't have them?
Well, here's the thing, because and I love that you can't really have another soul. Like you can't possess a boundless energy. So the real issue is people don't know what a soul is. If the other half of your soul you may think exists in another human being, but are you human? Is this all that you are? And that's why in order to tap into it, you need to know who you are. You need to know what it is you represent. That way, it's not even, you stop looking for it and then you start being it.
Okay, so here's my question for you.
Yeah.
Do you believe that you have a twin flame?
I know I do, but...
Have you met them?
Well, yeah, and here's the thing, like, I went from thinking that my twin flame was an actual woman or a person to realizing that it's an aspect of my frequency. I can see it everywhere. I can see it within everyone. I can see it. And the more I align with myself, the more I recognize it. And that helped me accept, whatever relationships come in, I can move forward. I think a lot of people mistake soulmates for the whole, like...
Mates, plural.
Right.
Plural.
So I do want to open up to the concept that, like, there is another person that reflects you, maybe like this other half of your soul, but I firmly believe that like the twin flame, like I don't believe I have a twin flame, I believe I am a twin flame. And a twin flame is like the polarity between that masculine and feminine, but we're one person. So the moment I start to see you as separate from me, as I own you or you have, we're not really twins. You're egoically separating each other instead of seeing yourself as one person. Of course, duality splits that between the parallel. But once I made that realization, it really helped me stop projecting my desires on people or, what I think. And I started to recognize that the people who I thought were my twin flame, it's not that they were, it's that they were expressing what I needed to see. And I projected that it was them instead of just the energy or the concept or the archetype. I mean, I don't really these days take it that serious anymore because I really, as a divine partnership, this is a connection that is outside of reality. And once again, materialist reductionism gets in the way of understanding spirituality because you are a spiritual being having a physical experience. And a lot of people that are tripped up with this, that you keep thinking you're a physical being. And so you're looking for another physical being to anchor this, and it doesn't work like that. And you will get disappointed every time because you can't control what, someone else thinks or feels. And I'm sorry, honey bun, but as much as you feel that person is your twin flame, they're not. And I also believe that not everyone is at that level. I feel like it's something that I don't feel like every single person has a twin flame. I feel like that's more of a rare dynamic.
It's just such a new concept and I'm just deciding how to I want to approach this.
To answer your question, it is bullshit. Especially It is bullshit. It took me a few years.
Everybody's gonna blow up now. They're gonna be like the cat with the keyboard, you know?
Yo, every time I talk about it, there's comments like, you don't know the journey, and like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I can't blame them because they spend so much time applying these extreme emotions. And when you're in your feelings, you don't think. But you like, they have all these extreme emotions. Cat moon, yep. Wonderfully insensitive. But you know, it's like you have these extreme emotions for your idea and belief of what you want that you forget that, you know, you're just projecting an illusion. And I feel like that's the most important part of the journey, is confronting your own delusion and your ideas around this. So, you know, it took me a while to accept that the twin flame concept is complete bullshit, but there's some truth in it. It's just the way we understand it, the way it's taught, the way it's spoken about, it's a lie. So
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Go ahead.
And before she does, if you're watching this and you feel you have a twin flame, you don't. Let me just snap you out of that right now. The whole notion that a soulmate is better than a twin flame, it's not true. I don't even say get with the soulmate. If you want your twin flame, you need to walk your path. And I'm saying that in quotes because you're not going to find your twin flame. The whole purpose of the journey is to rediscover yourself. So you have to align the masculine and feminine within. You need to walk your path. That's what's going to have you come into these experiences. If you're looking for someone who you think is your twin flame, you're not being yourself. You're not going to vibrate what's going to attract that. So yeah, I mean, the way it's understood, I think, is just, you know, full of shit. That doesn't mean that people won't have experiences. I've read charts with people who they said they were twin flames, and I was like, no, you're not. And then I saw their chart and I saw their moons opposed and their suns opposed. And, you know, it is a twin aspect. I've seen twin soul connections where like two people have their moon in Capricorn, one person's a Cancer, one person's a Gemini, the other person's a Leo. They meet, composite, Cancer opposite. That in a sense is a twin soul connection. So like that in a sense is like having the same soul space, but you know, it's still too much of a stretch to say that it all exists physically here, because there's so much beyond that.
So, but all right, devil's advocate. And I'm neutral in my belief, but I will play devil's advocate. Is not the whole point of the twin flame connecting and meeting with that person that is the vibrational match of yourself? When you think about when you've cycled through partnerships, relationships, whatever, not just romantic, but just in general, and then you encounter that twin flame, which, like, from what I've seen with clients and other things, mirroring kind of what you said about the fact that you'll see it in aspects in the chart.
Yeah.
Generally, like, that's a fucking nightmare situation, because you'll get so frustrated with that person and the realization that they're still struggling with the same issues that you're struggling with. And then so you're hitting really hard, being like, why won't they change? I don't understand.
Right.
They're going to come around. And like, yeah, there's a connection there. But that also is,
It could be a one-way connection too that only you feel.
I see it as like a reflection, as like something that you really benefit from turning inward and being like, I'm super frustrated about what this person is doing. And when in reality, it's a lesson for yourself.
Yeah.
But also, like, I think back to like situations in my life where way before any of this stuff, because this has become a thing more recently, like the last 2 or 3 years, because there's readers that do nothing but twin flame readings, divine masculine, feminine, whatever, they give that whole MO, and now they're merging it with astrology, which is very timely right now, by the way, because as we speak, you know, Juno is conjunct the South Node in Sag, and it's directly in opposition right now of Lilith in Gemini, conjunct the North Node, and then also Ceres is there. So there's definitely a lot of energy, at least until the end of 2021, about like separation and like what that means, and like choosing between the wife and the mistress, or like whatever, however it manifests for you, like whatever, I don't care. But I think about, before I knew about any of the constructs of like the twin flame stuff, and like the very rare occurrences that I've had like weird synchronicities in my life, where like I've had something happen and I'm like, I'm pretty sure this isn't the end of this story. Like, this isn't like where it ends. Like, just something intuitively was like, this is going to come up again. And then it did. Right? or this feeling that's just like, okay, like I'm super frustrated with what this person is doing, but in retrospect, I'm doing the same shit. And so then it's weird to like separate, go and work on my shit, connect, and like end up interacting with that person down the line, and then kind of finding out that we both went through the same fucking shit. We
Like
both went through, like
exactly.
literally, like
Yeah.
literally. And I don't mean just in terms of relationships, sure, whatever, but
Yeah.
life issues, like professional issues, like whatever, and kind of being like, wow, okay, the frustration that I had with that person, and like, you know, we mirrored that in each other, and like we worked that shit out, we went our separate ways, great. But then I'm like, okay, well, was that a soulmate? Because there's definitely been a lot of those in my life where I'm like, okay, they served a purpose, but like the very few, I'm not even gonna say few, it's just like certain situations that ended up being more than that ended up coming back around. And then when I hear the story of like what happened, I'm like, okay, cool, so we've both been in hell for the last like X amount of years.
And I think
like there's something to it, and that
the
was
mirroring for sure.
Yeah, the mirror
Yeah.
effect for sure.
That is a good indicator too. I think what confuses people is we still label, you know what I mean? Like no one is your twin flame, no one is your soulmate, no one is your person unless they give themselves to you, right? Unless they betroth themselves and they're like, I am yours, you're mine, right? But like that's what really misleads people, because and it's very Neptunian. It's that romantic delusion.
I have Venus conjunct Neptune.
Right.
So I'm like
I got a
very
chime.
like putting them on a pedestal. Like, oh my
Yeah,
god, that's
right,
everything
right,
I've ever wanted. And it opposes Jupiter too. So it's like super fucking fucked up. And conjunct Uranus. But I will say, I mean, mine's like a totally like, freak situation. But like let me put it this way without like going into details. What I thought and saw and believed,
Yeah.
even though it seemed super crazy, ultimately was true.
Yeah.
And that was way before any of this stuff came up. So for me, I'm kind of like, there's something to this.
There is something to it for
But
sure.
do you want to be with your twin flame? Because if your twin flame is fucked up, I don't care if they're doing meth in a trailer park, or they're married, or they have 8 kids and they live in Omaha. Like, do you want to be with that person? And is the ultimate purpose to unite with your twin flame so you can be complete? And does it feel like static? Because I would think it wouldn't, because it would be some kind of union, and then it's just like chill.
And that's the thing with materialist reductionism, because you are constantly with this energy. Like you're never separate from this individual. It's just the desire to physically ground it that doesn't have you acknowledge that there's more to this existence than just this physical
Then do
realm.
you connect with them in other realms? That's my real question.
And you do, but you're not always going to be conscious of it, because
Not always?
you can be conscious. I'm sure Pisces who are connected to the astral and Scorpios. In fact, I was in the belief that like twin flames could only be opposite signs or quincunx, right? Or have like the same moon sign or I was the belief in that for a long time. Like they have to be opposite signs, or if they're like closing or opening. But yeah, it's
Maybe it's happening in like other parallel universes.
Yeah, but it's just still the belief system behind it that blocks people from the purpose of this, where the purpose of the twin flame journey isn't even to reunite with this figurative representation of what you project on someone else who reflects you. It's to unite you.
I feel like it's to be
within.
like, I see you.
It's to be complete
Yeah.
within, and you meet someone who reflects that, and you can't look at that person as it. It's the energy that's flowing through that person.
I've heard some weird, uncomfortable things like, and I've heard it from like the twin flame people,
Right.
who have been like, when you look at them and you look in their eyes, you should see you. And I'm like, that's egotistical.
Yeah,
Like, why would I want to
especially-
see myself in the other person? You know,
Especially
but
because that person's them and you're you. I
but
feel
it-
like
but
it could be a compliment.
to an extent, I
Yeah.
guess that makes sense. I mean, like maybe it's like my inner romantic, but I heard that in theory, we don't know if this is real, when you reincarnate into this lifetime, your face looks like the person that you loved the most in your last life.
Oh wow.
Right?
That sounds like a myth.
Well, of course.
Right.
Right. Hello, Venus Neptune.
Oh my God.
But what I'm
But there-
saying
there
is
some
supposedly
truth
that's a thing, that like your face looks like that. So then I'm like, okay, and I've seen like lots of people that it's like, this is my twin, and like their faces look the same.
Right.
Like they look similar.
Or
It's
some
like
people do look similar.
Yeah, they look
That is
very
wild.
similar.
Even if they're like different colors, you can see it in their eyes. And personally,
Photo op.
yeah, personally, to answer her question again, I realized that it's archetypal. So if you want a really good visual of what this looks like, watch the movie Hancock and watch Lucifer, because that really kind of explains it. For example, representing Archangel Michael, Michael is twins with Lucifer. So every single person I've ever met, man or woman, that has or is a vessel of the Lucifer archetype, I share that twin connection with them, whether they have Gemini energy.
You're just trying to get everybody spiritually pregnant.
I'm
That's
a spiritual hoe. Like, you're my twin flame watching this. It is what it is. If I say that someone, I'll take it literal too. If someone's sun is in Gemini, I'll be like, okay, sun is the flame, twin is Gemini, second house mine, you're my twin flame. If it's the moon, you're my twin soul. I won't necessarily
That's my progress moon.
Really? So
Yeah.
see, she's my twin soul right now. It is what it is. And that's the thing though, because everything that's constant is change. So it's like, you know, it's not because it's not like me attaching to the idea of it, but once again, like it's very important because it helps you detach so much from outcome and expecting whatnot. But one thing about Hancock, one thing about Lucifer is that when they're together, they're vulnerable. Lucifer literally will bleed or be vulnerable when he's around Chloe, and you know, Hancock would take damage when he was around the angel who knew about him but didn't let him know. And I think that's a really good story to kind of like base it on. But you know, I think there's still, and you know what, Jupiter and Pisces might give more insight about it, but yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. I was actually
Yeah.
looking at a client's chart the other day, and somebody who watches the podcast, she was saying, oh, I hear you know how to find like the point of marriage and the point of children and like all this stuff. Because I have all these like calculations. Like I know how to find like pretty much anything. And I was explaining to her, I can give you the point, but just because you know the point, you need it significantly triggered by a progression, or you need it triggered by that showing up on a solar return, or you need to have like multiple planet transiting, and it was like at 13 or something of Pisces. So, you know, Jupiter,
that's
Venus.
what my progressed moon is right now.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
there you go. Maybe he's your soulmate.
I am! I'm all your soulmates!
But she was like, when am I having a child and where is my husband? And I like
Right.
pulled both of these points, and I was like, just because I give you the points, you need to wait until they're triggered. And she was like, okay. And I'm like, you got to see it in the solar return, and you have to also see it in transit. And it popped up in both. But what's interesting to me is like when I think about that, you know, looking into like the future and like knowing when some of these people come, sometimes it's like right person, wrong time.
Exactly. That's happened with me
Right?
before.
Where it's like they'll come in and it's like a blip and then they're gone. And
If they don't block you, it's not real. I'm just saying. They're not a
actually,
cardinal
there's some
sign that
truth
blocks
to
you.
that. Coming
Right.
from a sun Pluto, there's some truth to that. Yeah.
So another thing that's important too is people leave these things up to fate. Like a soulmate isn't something that you ask someone when are they going to come in your life, and they come in your life. You unconsciously manifest these.
They
things.
usually show up when you're in your shit also, by the way.
That too,
Like
that
people
too.
show up when you're in your mess. Like the universe doesn't give a fuck about your timeline. That's the
That's
one thing
right.
that I've kind of learned.
Yeah. And another thing is that, you know, it's not like you're meant to be with one soulmate. The whole thing is that people are different potentials. So you can see, okay, if I'm with this person, this is the door I'm going down. If I get with this person, this is the door I'm going down. So it's not like, which one of these people am I meant to be with? That's up to you.
Free will is a real thing. That's
You need
the
to stop
beauty.
giving it up to psychics
That's
that tell you,
the
okay,
beauty
so this is
of
it.
reincarnating on Earth is that
Right.
I believe we're here to learn how to like manipulate energy,
Right, yes.
and we're here
She's
to
a
learn
master
the
at that,
power of what?
I said she's a master of energy.
We're here to like learn about free will.
Yeah.
Right? And like what we choose, because there's a million different options and a million different choices, but the reality of the situation is like I think people get kind of like addicted to the idea of like the drama
Yeah.
of this twin flame soulmate, the idea that there's one person, because you could be with a million different people, but who you ultimately end up with. Like if something's really meant to be, and I will
Exactly.
always say
Yes.
this to my clients time and time again, if something's really meant to be,
Yeah.
it will come back around.
No,
Always.
it definitely
Like
will.
the universe will reroute you.
Yeah.
Like I really genuinely believe in this now because of like the last like 3 to 5 years of my life. But I think about things that happened like 8, 9, 10 years ago, and I'm like, why the fuck is this happening? Like, this isn't supposed to be happening this way. And then like, I wish that I could get in a time machine and go back in time and be like, listen, Candace, chill the fuck out. Like, XYZ is gonna happen. Like, don't worry. Like, this is just do whatever you gotta do.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, at the time, like the conversations that I was having with myself, that was like, listen, this isn't supposed to go this way, or like, this is what I kind of see happening. Like, it still happened, and it doesn't matter how many back-ass ways or how far I got off track. Like, the universe did reroute me. So I'll remind that when I talk to clients. I'll be like, listen, like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And like, there are some things that are set in stone. Like, there have been times that I look at charts in a reading or look at synastry, and I'm like, look, this person will come back, and it is inevitable that you guys will make it work. But I'm also a big believer that sometimes the lessons that you need, like, you know, I don't know about you, but like, most of what we talk to people about is relationships or money, maybe growth or healing, but usually it's love or money. And I'll talk to clients and kind of be like, look, here's the deal. If you guys go round and round in this similar cycle, the lessons that you need, you're not going to get from each other. So it's almost like you have to go and grow and get that experience from other people, other places, other things, whatever, because you're beating a dead horse doing it together. And which is why sometimes when you really detach and you let go of the idea that it has to be this person right now, like, time is not real. Like, humans don't, we think we comprehend time because we wear fucking Apple watches and we have calendars, but in reality, time is not real. So the amount of time that we spend going through these lessons and learning, and then ultimately coming back around, whether it's 6 months later or like, 10 years later, sometimes like that person comes back around and it's like, okay, well, now I'm ready. Like, we weren't going to get those lessons from each other. So if you have a strong enough soul contact or contract, be that twin flame, soulmate, whatever, I don't care. You will come back around to each other, but still,
in some context,
free will plays a huge role. And I'm constantly asking myself, like, how much weight does free will have versus fate?
Okay, so I believe, you have fate, you have destiny, you have, of course, fate, destiny. Fate is like the fixed, we can break it down to fixed, and karma, right? So karma is cardinal, fate is fixed, and destiny is mutable. And like, fate is what is fixed. This is what you're meant to come into. Karma is the action of how you take action based on a fated situation. You were fated to deal with this, but how you deal with it is your karma. And destiny is how you can change the situation based on the fate. But what you asked is really important, because I don't believe in free will, to be honest. I don't believe in like true free. I believe free will exists, kind of like how you play a video game, and I have the free will to go to anywhere, but there's only a certain, I'm going to inevitably have to go to this level. There's certain
stipulations. Like, there's like almost like life is like a maze, and ultimately you have to get to the other side. It's just a matter of how you get there. There have been some things that I have noticed in my life where I'm like, I'm going to defy the stars. It says this, and I'll like fight against it for 6 months, and then I'm just like, fuck it, I give up. And then there are other things in my chart that's like, inevitably this will happen, and I'm like, I'm never ever going to let that happen, or no way. And then on some idle Tuesday it happens, and I'm like,
I think there's an ability to like change fate, but with destiny. But I love that you asked that, because it's like predeterminism and free will are kind of go a little bit hand in hand. I just feel like free will is within the umbrella of predeterminism. So you have a whole bunch of things that you're gonna have to go through regardless. Like at some point you're gonna have to pay taxes. You're gonna die, right? Or certain people are gonna die. But how you deal with that is your free will, right? But because the nodes exist in Saturn, I don't know. I feel like there's certain things that you're not conscious of that you have already pre-decided you do. And a free will, in a sense, might be an illusion. But, I mean, that's still a bit of a theory right now.
And maybe perhaps a lot of the work that you do on a soul level ultimately determines how much you level up in a quote-unquote twin flame situation. Because I've seen it a lot in clients' charts, and then I think about things that have happened in my life where I'm like, I came to like this crossroads where I'm like, I either do this or I do that, and I don't want to do this. I know I should do this. I usually do that, but I'm going to do this even though it's uncomfortable. And shortly after making that decision, I end up encountering like a situation or even a person that's like, oh yeah, I dealt with the same thing. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I started kind of wonder, like, did I encounter this person because we did the same thing, or
Or
did
got
this
the same
person
rising.
come into my life because I made a decision and the cause and effect of my decision
Right.
brought that person into my reality. And then I start kind of digging deeper and being like, is it a coincidence, or have we both been through the same shit? And like,
Right.
that's super rare.
It is.
It's super rare
Yeah.
to find that. And I guess like kind of sort of in closing, kind of building off of what you said, is maybe when you find that person, it's not about the, oh my God, is it going to work? Is this going to pan out? Is it this? Is it that? Like, you know, what is the future? I think that when you find the person,
Right.
you're super calm.
And
And
I-
also like
Yes,
authentic
yes,
and
yes.
transparent and like yourself. And there's this sense
Exactly.
of like
You should be more like
relief.
yourself than ever.
Like
Yes.
you just crossed a finish line because you found it. Not that you're worried that you're going to lose it.
So I love that too, and you know, one thing that I hate is when people feel like if someone's not your twin flame, they're not important. Like this, it's a myth. That's stupid. It's like, oh well, that's my soulmate, but this is my twin flame, and that person, and it's like, no, it's not like that. Like you don't prioritize who's more important based on who you think is their twin flame. But my question to you is, composite Juno in the 7th. Does that mean you're meant to be?
It depends on the aspects to Juno and the sign.
Okay, what if it's opposite the sun?
It can mean that part of the ego's purpose or part of the drive is to complete that. Oppositions are that. But one thing I'll tell you, here's some secret sauce, right? Is I like to look at the composite. We've talked about the difference between the midpoint and the Davidson. I look at both. But in my opinion, I've looked at the composite chart and how it relates to each individual chart. And one thing I've seen that's a reoccurring theme is if you take the midpoint composite, and if that composite makes aspects to either one of the natal Venus, either one of the natal Junos, or vice versa, it works.
Okay.
So like, for example, like my composite Juno with my partner is like 21, 22 of Aquarius. That's my North Node. That's also their composite Juno. So, no, I take that back. The composite Venus is their Juno and my North Node. You get what I'm saying?
The composite Venus. Oh, your composite Venus
The
is
composite
Aquarius.
Venus is my North Node and their Juno.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
you have to look for...
And it's being activated.
It's
right
being
now.
activated with
That's
Jupiter.
awesome.
And I'm getting married.
And I know that
Yeah.
happened with Kanye and Kim
Yeah,
Kardashian.
Kim,
They had like
yeah.
a Juno aspect.
Yeah. So
Which is
you want to
wild.
look at more than just the composite chart. You want to
Yeah.
look at how the composite, which is the relationship, aspects each individual person. So can the sun in opposition to Juno work? Sure. If part of the actual drive and the purpose is about coming into union, but you want to look at what sign is it in? Is it aspected? Where is Juno in aspect to Jupiter? Because Juno was married to Jupiter. Is it being aspected because of a Jupiter transit?
Yeah.
Like, you know, why are you wondering if it's going to work with somebody?
No, I just noticed. I had a psychic reading. Okay, it was a pick a card reading from this Capricorn woman, and like it applied to this one person, and then I recently saw our composite chart yesterday, and I noticed we had that aspect. And I'm like, oh shit, this actually could be this person, but I'm not.
Where's the
attaching to
moon
it.
in aspect to the sun?
Juno, Moon, Uranus, Neptune, and Capricorn in the 7th.
So it's a full moon.
And it's where Venus and Pluto are going to
So
retrograde.
the moon
it's a
is
full moon.
carrying the energy from the sun of that, and it's showing the polarity where both of you guys are a good match, but technically you're separate.
And it also rules long distance relationships with Uranus, and like this person's out of the country.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know this person like that. For y'all watching me, don't worry, I'm not talking to anybody. I know, I don't want you to
He's
think
all
that
like, I'm still free,
Right,
ladies.
I'm still single. Hold on.
It's
just
gotta
made
go
me
through
like,
me though. Anybody who you end up
That's
with,
true,
I'm
that's
your
true,
7th
that's true.
house. It's gotta go through me.
Yeah. You gonna get the Candace test.
Which not many people pass.
If my
but-
work wifey approves of you, we can get married. Yeah, I'm a. Only then I'll bring you to mom. If my work wifey says you
Good luck. If you gotta pass me, you gotta. Good luck.
Well,
Fuck.
just to come back full circle, I know I said that you don't have a twin flame, but I am your twin flame.
He's like, so call me now for your reading.
Yes. Even though I've had stalkers say that, you know, I know I should know better, but I'm your twin flame, babe. It's all good.
Well, hopefully this is helpful. You guys maybe benefited from our perspective. Maybe you share that. Maybe you're a twin flame. I don't know. If you are, let us know. Check out the comments below.
Which, if
Leave
you're a
us a
Gemini, you're a
message.
twin flame.
Let us know what the deal is with you and your twin flame and your aspects if you have one.
Think about it. People hate twin flames. People hate Geminis.
People hate Kanye.
There you go. He's
Can I
another
be
one.
Kim if you're Kanye?
Hey! Yeah.
Minus the sex tape. Nobody wants to see that.
Oh my God.
We will see all of you guys very soon. Thank you guys for watching, sharing, liking, subscribing. Leave us comments below and let us know what you want us to make videos for you guys in the future. And don't forget to follow our live readings that we have on Wednesdays in the evening if you want to get a tarot card reading, and subscribe to our channel. You guys take care. We'll see all of you guys very soon.
Peace.